real-life fantasy sports and betting alongside Jessie, Coffield. I am Emerson, Lotzia.
Tonight we'll look at some of the top bets available on the DK Sportsbook ahead of the NBA Finals, as well as Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Ooh.
Plus, Orioles lefty John Means joins us to deliver his top 3 southpaw pitchers. But let's get started, please, with some MLB hot or not. DK Live's Tim Finnegan and Ben Twyman are here. Speaking of hot. So will the following players give you the little fire emoji on your DK app? You know, the one you see by all the player names. Or are we anticipating a little snowflake, which is chilly? That's not hot.
The dreaded snowflake. Well, David Price exited his last start with the flu after just 15 pitches. He'll give it another go tonight. Like him to be hot or not against Cleveland, Ben?
Yeah, the flu. I like him to be hot. I'm a little worried, though. Like, I can see outside right now it's raining pretty heavily, so I wonder if they're actually going to get this game in. But if they do, I like Price a lot. The Red Sox are heavily favored against the Indians, for one. They have a high implied run total. I don't think the flu is a big issue. If it were a bigger issue, the Red Sox would have put David Price on the IL, made him skip a couple starts. But yeah, the Indians haven't been very good on offense, bottom 5 offense. They haven't been good against lefties, 224 batting average, 670 OPS as a team versus Southpaws. I think Price's price is pretty good. 9,400 is affordable. He shouldn't be too chalky, too. It's one of those slates where pitching's really ugly. So you're going to have to look to other guys, cheaper pitchers. But yeah, I like Price in this spot. So I think if the game gets played, he'll be hot.
Felt like you had a conspiracy theory about the flu there.
The definite air quotes. I noticed
flu.
that.
They use the flu or an illness for a lot of things. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, Tim, what's your take on David Price, hot or not?
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I think Price is in a good spot. He's in a good spot for the win. He's facing, a AAA call-up for Cleveland. He's backed by a good Red Sox offense. Strikeouts look pretty good. He's got a 29% strikeout rate on the season, which is much better than average. The league average is around 23%. So, the Indians haven't been a good offense, like Ben said. They've been bottom 5 on the season. And if you look, because they got off to a slow start without Francisco Lindor, but even in the month of May, the Indians haven't been a good offense either. They've been in the bottom third. So, yeah, I think I like Price in this spot too.
Well, Anthony Rendon has been extremely up, down, and all around over the past few games. Hot or not tonight against the Braves, Tim?
I like Rendon in the spot. He has explosive numbers against lefties this year. He's facing a lefty, Max Fried. Fried throws 60% fastballs, and he has mediocre peripheral statistics against righties. His fielding independent pitching, which takes into account home runs allowed, walks, and strikeouts, is around league average. So I like Rendon in the spot, especially against the lefty.
Benny with the good hair, how much do you like Rendon in this spot?
Yeah, I like my hair. My hair actually isn't very – the rain's messing with my hair. It doesn't look that good today, but thanks.
You're welcome.
No, yeah, I like Tim said, Rendon has been good against lefties this season. He's hitting .371 against them. 8 of his 13 hits against lefties have gone for extra bases. In his career against left-handers, .306 batting average, .908 OPS. Fried hasn't been bad, but he doesn't last very long in games. He usually goes around 5-6 innings. So, yeah, the Braves' bullpen, not very good, bottom third of the league. So, yeah, if Rendon and the Nationals can get to that bullpen, that's another favorable spot for him. Rendon's price is a little high at 5,800, but I think a lot of lineups will look to Coors and Nolan Arenado tonight. So that could mean Rendon's ownership percentage is a little bit down, which is good for a big slate like we have tonight.
Well, Max Kepler is averaging 17 DK points over his last 10 games. So does his hot streak end tonight against Zach Davies, Ben?
Absolutely not. He's been insane. The only thing I'm concerned about is his price, 5,500, which is very high. About a week ago, he was hovering around the 4K range, but I guess it makes sense because he's batting .429 in his past 10 games, and he's on a 5-game double streak, which is pretty nuts. Zach Davies for the Brewers had been pitching well this season, but his last start he was shelled by the Reds. The home runs are kind of coming back. Zach Davies, he had problems with home runs earlier in his career. So that's sort of an issue. His FIP and XFIP sort of tell more of the story. They've been a bit higher than his ERA this season, so I think the matchup is great. It's just really, if you want to pay this kind of price for Kepler, you really need him to hit value in GPPs to be worth it tonight. And he could carry high ownership, which has me thinking he's more of a cash game play than a tournament play at this point.
Tim, is he going to keep the Fire Flames emoji going?
Yeah, Ben makes a great point about so Kepler's facing Davies, right? Davies has a 2.43 ERA, but if you look at his peripheral statistics aren't nearly as good as his run prevention. His fielding independent pitching is around 4.2, which is kind of mediocre. And he doesn't really strike batters out. He only strikes out 17% of opposing batters. The league average is 23%, so there'll be more balls in play against Davies because he's a soft tosser. He doesn't miss a lot of bats. And another thing good about Kepler is he hits leadoff, so that'll maximize his plate appearances in the game. More plate appearances, the more opportunities you have at fantasy scoring. So I really like Kepler in the spot too.
How about Daniel Vogelbach? Just one game with more than 10 DK points in his last 6. Hot or not for him against Texas, Tim?
I really like Vogelbach in the spot. He's facing an opener, Jessie Chavez. An opener is basically a relief pitcher that will start the game, but he's only going to throw about an inning. The reason for that is so that instead of starting a pitcher and then bringing in a reliever behind him, you're bringing in the starting pitcher against the bottom third of the order. That's the goal of the opener, basically. So he's facing Jessie Chavez, who Jessie Chavez doesn't have good numbers, and he'll be followed by Adrian Sampson. They're both right-handed pitchers, and they both have below-average numbers. And Vogelbach has really crushed righties this year. I would definitely invest in Vogelbach in this spot.
He's kind of got me sold on Vogelbach here, Ben.
No, yeah, and Tim's right. I expect some flames from him tonight. He's sort of a boomer bust play over the past 14 days. He's been crushing the ball, 5 home runs, 9 RBI, 405 ISO, 6.76 slugging percentage. His BABIP is a little concerning at 200, but again, this is sort of a spot where he could see Jessie Chavez. He may not. He's batting 4th, so if Chavez strikes, if Chavez gets through the first 3 batters, Vogelbach will end up facing Adrian Sampson, which is a pretty good spot because Sampson is giving up a healthy amount of home runs, which is really what you're looking for in Vogelbach tonight. You want him to get a home run or something. So, yeah, I mean, I like rolling him out in GPP or cash game lineups given his price and where he's batting in the M's lineup.
Well, on the other side of the ball, Shin Soo Choo's also been pretty unpredictable as of late. Fire or snowflake emoji for him, Ben?
Finally, we got some snow in the forecast.
Ooh.
I'm not really crazy about Chu. His numbers versus Gonzalez are good if you're into BVP stats, but he hasn't done much. He's got 6 Ks in his past 2 games. His approach at the plate really hasn't been good in the past 3 games. He's killed Seattle, but he's not very good against left-handers. Marco Gonzalez is going for the M's tonight. Chu against lefties, 179 batting average and 39 at-bats this season, 14 Ks, which is concerning. Maybe if Chu were in that 4.5K price range, I'd maybe be thinking about him a little bit, but over 5K is a little too much to pay up for Chu tonight, I think.
I'm not crazy about Chu either right now, Ben. Tim, Fire Flames or Snowflake here?
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I'm not crazy about Chu either. Chu throughout his career has been much better against righties, and if you look at his splits this year, he hasn't hit lefties well at all this year. Like Ben said, he's facing a left-handed pitcher, Marco Gonzalez tonight. I would stay away from Chu. The one good thing about Chu is he does hit leadoff. So like I said before, that maximizes his plate appearances for fantasy scoring, but I don't like him against a lefty. You should save him against righties.
All right, you guys are on a 40-minute break until we need you again for baseball, dipping our toes into the bargain bin. We've got a DK Sportsbook edition of NBA Chaser Fade, though, coming up next.
How we doing? Brendan Glasheen here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. NBA Finals start up Thursday, folks. Warriors, Raptors, available in DraftKings Showdown mode all series long. Kevin Durant officially out for Game 1. Head coach Steve Kerr said KD has not done any on-court work with the team. Kerr also admitted the multiple days in between games helps, so we'll see. As for DeMarcus Cousins, the big man is questionable for the series opener. Cousins working back from a torn left quad. Remarkable he's reached questionable as opposed to the initial diagnosis of unlikely to return. Coach Kerr put the Cousins injury into perspective. It always takes big guys longer to find their rhythm. The speed of their game is so fast. If this was the regular season, this would be simple. Put him back in the starting lineup and give him his minutes and let him work his way back in and find his rhythm. It'd be an easy one, but we're going into Game 1 of the finals. Sounds like Kerr's going to evaluate both guys on a game-by-game basis, so still continue to reap the benefits of Draymond Green. He averaged north of 55 DK points a game in the Western Conference Finals against the Blazers, and get him before his price continues to creep upward.
We're 2 days out from Game 1 of the NBA Finals, so we're biding our time here with some chase or fade with two of our favorite analysts. Hello, DK Live's Alex Rickleen and RotoWire's Nick Whalen.
Game 1 between Golden State and Toronto, that arrives on Thursday, but get those bets in right now, please. Kevin Durant already ruled out for this one, so DK Live has the spread for Game 1 at just 1 point in favor of the Raptors here. So Alex, chase or fade, Toronto should be the favorites in this one.
I'm going to chase this. Both of these teams are coming in scorching hot, except the Warriors have had a full 9 days to cool off, while the Raptors are coming off a much more normal 4 days off. The Warriors' 9 days off ties the fourth longest layoff in NBA history. The only other semi-analogous situation in NBA history was back in 2003 with the Nets and the Spurs, when the Spurs had about 5 days off and the Nets had 11, and the Spurs won Game 1 there, with the Spurs being the team with the shorter rest. And, you know, the Raptors have healthy Kawhi and the Warriors don't have Durant. So I think this is a fair line.
Nick, I believe the Raptors beat the Warriors in both the regular season meetings. I'm not sure how much we're going to read into that one.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, this is such a different Raptors team, you know, with the addition of Marc Gasol. I think we kind of saw that bear some fruit against Milwaukee, which, you know, fared well against Toronto during the regular season, but Kawhi was absent for some of those games, and they hadn't faced Marc Gasol. So I don't know how much I read into that. But I do understand the line. I mean, the Raptors are at home, something that Golden State really hasn't had to contend with going on the road for games 1 and 2 in a final series at all during this run that began back in 2014-15. You know, I know they've won 4 in a row. They're coming off of a sweep of the Portland Trail Blazers, but so is Toronto. And like Alex said, I think the biggest factor here is the rest. You know, I think that's what scares me a little bit about Golden State is, you know, obviously the hope was this long layoff would enable Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins a little extra time to get healthy. And it looks like that might be the case for Cousins, but they're not getting Durant back. And Toronto, I think, is coming off of what, you know, if there is such a thing, kind of an ideal rest period. Again, like Alex said, you know, you don't want to be playing, you know, what's essentially a back-to-back, you know, if you finish up Saturday and have to play Monday. But I also think most teams would admit deep down they don't really want 8 or 9 days off between series. So I still think Golden State wins the series, but I can understand why Toronto's favored at home in Game 1.
Well, for Game 1, which is Thursday, if you weren't listening, Klay Thompson is plus 137 to have over 3.5 3-pointers. So, Nick, chase or fade, the over is a great bet here.
You know, it'll be really interesting to see what this Raptors defense prioritizes in terms of what to take away, especially without Kevin Durant. You know, that opens up a few more options, I think, for Nick Nurse and that defense. So we'll see, you know, how much they prioritize stopping Steph Curry versus, you know, not helping off of Klay Thompson, which, you know, if there's one player in the league you don't want to help off of on the wing or in the corner, it's probably Klay. So in these playoffs, he's hit at least 4 threes in 5 of 16 games. He's done it in 8 of 22 career finals games. So, you know, on paper, at least the numbers maybe imply that the odds aren't in your favor. That said, anyone who's watched Klay Thompson shoot a basketball in an NBA game, it's hard to look at that and bet against him. I mean, he's a player who's capable of hitting 4 threes in a half, certainly capable of hitting 4 threes in a quarter. We've seen him do that multiple times. So, you know, even though the numbers say that more often than not, he's fallen short of hitting that over 4 3-pointers in these playoffs, I just think I'd feel pretty good chasing this and betting that he heats up at some point during Game 1.
Alex, Nick makes a compelling argument that the over is a great bet. What do you think?
I got to agree with him. in games without Durant this offseason, or not offseason, this postseason, Klay is averaging 4 threes per game. So he's averaging more than the line. Now, granted, there's a bunch of, 3-pointer games and a 1 3-pointer game in there. But he's averaging more than 3.5 per game without Durant in these playoffs and over the course of this regular season. He's hit 4+ threes, 33 games this season. That's a 35% rate. So the line strikes me as pretty fair. I like this. I like this bet.
The awkward giggling assassin known as Kawhi Leonard is at plus 250 to win Finals MVP. The second best odds after Steph Curry, who's minus 143. Alex, chase or fade that Kawhi, though, is the best bet to win Finals Most Valuable Player.
I'll fade I'll fade that. Yeah, Curry is and should be the favorite for MVP because the Warriors are and should be the favorite to win this series. However, Kawhi is a better bet just in terms of playing the odds. The Raptors are plus 225 to win the series. So any odds on the MVP that give you Kawhi at more favorable than plus 225 is a solid bet. I've spent most of this afternoon trying to imagine a scenario where the Raptors win this series and Kawhi doesn't win the MVP most of the time. And I think we still need something supernatural from like Thanos to make this all hold together. It's not possible. Either the Raptors and Kawhi win or Kawhi doesn't win. So anything better than the Raptors at 225 is great.
All right, Nick, hypothetically speaking here, let's just say Thanos is dead. Can Kawhi,
hypothetically, no spoilers.
Is Kawhi still the best bet to bring home MVP here?
I am decidedly not a movie guy. In fact, I think I'm infamous in my friend group for not watching movies. So I know who Thanos is. I have not seen whatever movie.
Oh my God!
Oh, good grief!
I kind of am trepidatious about even saying that on air. But what I will say is that I will chase that Kawhi is the best bet, which Alex laid out pretty well from purely an odds perspective. But I'll fade him as my pick to win it. Plus 250 isn't bad for a guy who's an absolute lock to win the Finals MVP if his team wins the series. I agree with Alex that you could maybe make some sort of case that Marcus Gasol goes crazy and shuts down Draymond Green and averages 3.5 blocks. It would just there's so many things that have to happen for the Raptors to win the series and Kawhi not win the MVP that I'm kind of surprised that you can get plus 250. I mean, it reminds me of LeBron's odds, these last 8 years in the finals where there was just no scenario in which you felt that Cleveland could win the title and he wouldn't be the MVP, or Miami would win the title and he wouldn't win the MVP. But either way, I think Curry is my pick. We discussed this on the show last week. Everything's kind of aligning for him to finally get that Finals MVP that's eluded him. And I think the odds reflect that. Even if KD were to come back for game 2 or game 3 and play really well, let's say he plays, games 3, 4, and 5, the Warriors win in 5 games. As long as Steph Curry at least treaded water in those first 2 games and played okay the rest of the way, I think it would be relatively unprecedented for a guy who missed 40% of the series to come back and win Finals MVP. So I think the best way I can put it right now is that it's Steph Curry's Finals MVP to lose.
All right, we appreciate you too. Jesse and I will be back to talk hockey after these messages from Pat Mayo.
Tier 1 of running backs that I have 4 guys for PPR, and it is Saquon Barkley. I have it written down Christina McCaffrey, but I believe that is Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, and Alvin Kamara. So I guess the 2 things to really kind of parse out here among these top guys is McCaffrey. Ron Rivera has come out and said that his touches could be down this year. And if we had listened to him last year, we all just would have drafted Christian McCaffrey inside the top 3 when he said the touches were going up. With a banged up Cam Newton, do you really see the touches going down for Christian McCaffrey?
No, if anything, maybe like 5%. And if that's the case, so what? Maybe he doesn't get 100 receptions. Maybe he only gets 90. Whoop-de-doo. I don't see it being a significant point to knock him out of the top 4. And I like this. As soon as you said I have a top tier and you said 4, I said, yep. I don't know if you heard that. I agree with you 100%. I think it's clear if you want a top 4 pick this year or just give me the back of the first round. I don't want to even pick 5th because you're the first person to have to make that decision. So I think that maybe he loses 10 to 15 touches over the entire year, still be a top 4.
So is Saquon number one, or are we just banking on that he gets either the same or slightly better than he did a year ago? Because I think there's a very strong case that you can make for Ezekiel Elliott if he just improves in the touchdown department, especially on the ground. We just saw his reception totals go up so highly. Like, I was way off on Zeke. I never thought the receptions would go up, and all of a sudden they more than double. If that's going to be the case, and that's going to be the new norm for Elliott, and that Dak's not going to steal all of his touchdowns this year, he could very well be the number one pick.
He certainly can. It would be like the touchdown. It'd be the positive touchdown regression off the touches we saw from last year. But that's, we're trying to predict touchdowns, and that's always dangerous when you talk about fantasy. I'll say this. You can honestly make a case for all the top four. I'm going with Saquon Barkley. But let's be real. Like, if Alvin Kamara doesn't have can he really handle 280, 300 touches of the season and not get hurt? And he was going to see that volume like he saw last year for the first 4 games before Mark Ingram was back. Then he's in the content. He should be probably the number one running back. I mean, that's really what we're looking at here. So I think it just really comes down to what's your taste. Ezekiel Elliott's the safest. Christian McCaffrey with those little concerns. And if you look at the running backs they drafted too, with Jordan Scarlett and Elijah Holyfield, you worry a little bit about the receptions, as I mentioned. I'm not that worried about Elijah Holyfield. I was never a big fan of his, but you could poke holes in everybody here. But you're nitpicking. Like, Saquon Barkley is, all right, how good is the Giants offense going to be? Ezekiel Elliott, I think what we get down to is he's by far the safest, because even if he only replicates last year, all right, so you got the number 3 running back.
He was thrown in cuffs in Vegas. I don't know. He wasn't arrested or charged or anything like that, but it feels like there's always just a lingering possibility. And we saw it that one season when he ended up getting suspended for, what week did that eventually happen? Was it like week 6 that happened?
I thought it was a little bit later than that. It was somewhere right around there for lifting up the lady shirt and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it feels like he is like out of the top 4 guys. If something off the field were to happen and he were just to go away, it seems like he would be the likeliest of these 4 candidates. That's really the only case I can really make against Ezekiel Elliott when it comes down to it. The Kamara case that I would make against him is that they bring in Latavius Murray to essentially just be Mark Ingram. Maybe you get an uptick in Kamara, but he doesn't dominate the backfield playing 90% of the snaps. He plays 75% of the snaps, which would still have him be top 4 for me, especially in PPR. But what if we get into a situation where, we're inside the 5-yard line now, Latavius Murray comes in, and all of a sudden you see Alvin Kamara, who ended up with 14 touchdowns last season. And if that's not going to be the 14 touchdowns on the ground, if that comes back down a little bit, like he only gets 8, or he has God forbid 6 on the ground like Ezekiel Elliott did, then a lot of his upside is kind of taken out. You're there for the receptions, and I doubt they'll ever throw to Latavius Murray, but should I be sweating Latavius Murray? I guess that's my only concern.
I think you have to mildly sweat him. I think if you look at the usage from when the down weeks of Mark Ingram, when the usage wasn't in that kind of like the 60-40 split and kind of more of he got pushed to the side and he was in for the short yards, the bigger runs that they need the back for. I think that's what we see Latavius Murray. I wouldn't expect Latavius Murray to be 100% what they had Mark Ingram. But that's it. If that happened, would that surprise me? No. And you just poked all the holes there. And that's why if you're still playing in any leagues that are full non-PPR, I think Kamara falls out of that tier 1.
Well, the hunt for the cup is on. So, time to talk hockey with my absolute favorite Canadian, the one and only Jeff Ulrich. And Ben Zwyman's also here, both of DK Live fame.
My leaderboard is just working out great for me. It's a great idea.
Yeah, oh my God, it's a great idea.
Still Emerson.
You're so smart.
All right, let's go. Let's talk a little bit of NHL. What are the odds? So we'll give you a bet. You tell us if you like the odds. Oakley, Dokaley?
Oakley, Dokaley. That's what you always say.
Oakley, Dokaley. Sean Corrali got the go-ahead goal for Boston last night. He's plus 335 to score in Game 2. Jeff, do you think DK Sportsbook got these odds right? Please be careful with this answer.
I mean, I don't think I'd chase this. I get the idea of going after the hot player here, but Boston's just such a deep team, and you don't know if Curley and that line is going to go up against the top line for the Blues again. I know they sort of switched midway through and ended up matching through it, and they really got the Bruins going, but I just don't know if that scenario is going to play out again. I do expect the Bruins to win Game 2. I think they might take this series quite easily, but I feel like the top line of Boston is going to bounce back, and you've got 2 other deep lines there. So I just don't think this is big enough, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'd want a bigger line on a player like Curley.
All right, Benjamin, the Bruins hater, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I like Corrali. I mean, if you look at the ice time from last night, Corrali skated a lot. That fourth line, they used them a lot. Corrali was 14-21 of ice time. Probably the Bruins' best forward. So yeah, I mean, the odds I would like Jeff said, I'd like them to be a little better in my favor. But if the Bruins like the balanced approach, then yeah, I mean, that fourth line's been playing well. Then sure, yeah, Corrali.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Are you gonna cry?
You seem stressed out.
Huh?
You
Are
seem
you
like
gonna
stressed
cry?
out and stuff. Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, Vladimir Tarasenko is minus 290.
That's minus 295.
95 to be
okay.
held scoreless, Ben. Ben, I think those are the right odds for that. What about you?
Yeah, I think they're good. Tarasenko is the best player on the Blues, so they're going to need him to get on the score sheet if they want to get back into the series and win the Cup final. He scored in Game 1. He's going to keep on putting up points, I think, regardless of the outcome. So yeah, I mean, Tarasenko's arguably the best player in the Cup final. So yeah, I think those odds are pretty, yeah, they're fine.
Jeff, as you can see, I might need glasses. Tarasenko minus 295. What do you think?
Oh, you don't need glasses, Jesse. You're fine. Tarasenko 295. I mean, it does make sense because I know he's kind of due for regression too. I mean, he's got goals in 3 of his last 4 games, and he's such a dynamic player that it just takes one shot. I mean, he could literally go hold him down the whole game, and then all of a sudden he's on the scoreboard. It's not a bet I would like to take. At the same time, I feel like these odds are probably about right. I mean, I just feel like Boston is just a better team, and I mean, St. Louis is. They haven't exactly been blowing teams out the postseason. I mean, they've been winning more close games than anything. So, it's not really a bet I'd like to take, but the odds are probably close to right. You know, maybe a little bit on the high side. But
Jeff, Ryan O'Reilly is minus 125 to score at least 1 point in this game. So, do you think his odds should be better or worse to notch at least a goal or an apple?
I mean, if you can get better, I think it's actually a pretty good bet. I mean, again, the Bruins are just a deeper team, and they did a pretty good job at shutting down the Blues' top line in the second half of that game, second half of Game 1. And if that continues, the Blues are going to need Ryan O'Reilly to step up. And he's been pretty consistent this postseason. I think he had one little bad stretch where he went through 3 games without a point, but otherwise he's been very consistent. He's maybe missed a couple games, but he's been racking up assists and stuff like that. So minus 125 for him to bounce back after a slow Game 1. I don't mind that at all. I mean, I think the Blues are going to need scoring from someone else other than their top line, and Ryan O'Reilly is the man to get it. I mean, he's out there 20 minutes a night. That's what you want from a bet like this. So I think this is about right. I definitely don't think they should be much higher.
Ben, you like Ryan O'Reilly at minus 125 to record at least 1 point?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. If you look at Game 1, Ryan O'Reilly led Blues forwards in ice time, so that's obviously good. I think the issue was St. Louis took more penalties than they had been in the playoffs so far. I think it was around 5 or 6 penalties in Game 1, which isn't going to cut it because Ryan O'Reilly is one of their top penalty killers, so he's going to be skating a lot of shorthanded ice time, which hurts him. So if the Blues can get back into that disciplined style of hockey and take less penalties, then that obviously plays in the strengths of Ryan O'Reilly, who will skate a lot of ice time. And yeah, they're going to need him to step up and get a point and get on the score sheet if they want to take Game 2.
All right, David Pastrnak is the favorite to score a hat trick at plus 4,000. Ben, do you agree Pasta should have the best odds to get a hattie?
I'm going to say no. He really hasn't been the Bruins' best forward this postseason. There really aren't many players in this series that can realistically score a hat trick. It's sort of Pastrnak, Tarasenko, Marchand, Bergeron, and Jaden Schwartz are the guys that I would expect to, if there will be one. I don't think there will be a hat trick in this Cup final. I think we'll see more tighter defense in Game 2. We could see some lower scoring games. Tuukka Rask wasn't very good last night. I think he really needs to bounce back in Game 2. It was really the Blues choking and taking too many penalties in Game 1. That really was their downfall. But yeah, I mean, Pastrnak needs to get it going. He's not really skating a lot of ice time, so that's not very good in his for his odds to get a hat trick. So I don't really agree with these odds here. I think if I were to take anyone on the Bruins, Marchand or Bergeron would probably be the guys I'd go with.
Jeff, what do you think? Should Pasta have the best odds to get the hat trick?
I mean, I do think, Marchand or Bergeron, and Ben's right on the group of players he named off. But I think, if you can get better odds on Marchand and Bergeron, I think you can get. But I think Pasternak's the most dynamic scorer on the Bruins, and I really do like the spot for their top line. Like I said, if you think, the Blues are going to be in the tank just because of how they blew game one, and the Bruins first line is due for a bounce back, I mean, it's really not that bad a bet. I think this is actually an interesting spot for it. Maybe you take like the multiple goal bet. I don't know what the odds are for that. Maybe that's a good, but I like Pasternak for this. I do. I know he's been a bit slow, but he's the type of player who can pop off with just a massive game. So he actually would be my target for a hat trick in this game.
Always a good time talking puck with both of you. Jeff, you are back next block to talk golf with us because you can do it all, but so can Ben, because Ben's doing a lot of baseball on the show tonight.
Absolutely,
Good stuff, Ben.
We're going to let the Tour Junkies open for Jeff right now.
Okay.
You know I love some long odds, okay? I love some long odds. And I know the Memorial can be a place where the cream rises to the top because the field is strong. I get it.
Not lately, though. Look at the last five winners here.
You're all right.
Duff,
if
McGirt,
Lingmerth can win here, then any of the guys that I'm about to name can win here. So I do like the longer odds. But let's get this thing started. The shortest odds that I like are Keegan Bradley at 80-1. I think that's ridiculous. He's got a couple of top tens here. He's a great ball striker. Checks the box in strokes gained approach, opportunities gained, playing well right now. I think Keegan at 80-1 is interesting. And then I got three guys at 150-1. This is an invitational field only. There aren't 150 guys in this field. And I think any one of these three guys could win this event very easily. Corey Connors, who just won his first PGA Tour event the week before the Masters to get into Augusta National, has played well since then. He's one of the best iron players on the PGA Tour when you look over the last 24, 50 rounds. He's outstanding. He's 150-1. Matt Every, who's also playing sneaky good right now. Matt Every is playing well, and he's a proven multi-PGA Tour winner. Now he's won at Bay Hill every time he's won. He's never won at a different golf course, but this could be the one. If David Lingmerth can win here, if William McGirt can win here, Matt Every can win here at 150-1. And then finally, a guy who's played a little bit better than Matt Every consistently for the last few years, Nick Watney, typically a West Coast guy. Nick Watney at 150-1. I like him. And then finally, I got one more at 50-1 for a top 10 finish. 50-1 for a top 10 finish, Boo Weekley. Okay? Played pretty decent here at the Charles Schwab Cup. Boo Weekley's a multiple PGA Tour winner. Good ball striker. Control of his golf ball all the time. Doesn't get it in a lot of trouble. Can hit fairways, can hit greens. 50-1 for a top 10. I like that for old Boo Weekley. That's my DraftKings Sportsbook picks of the week.
wow, boo. Okay, I'm all right there. Look, I agree with the longer odds, and I think certainly there's definitely some value here in the sports book. But just to give you some shorter plays, I do like Adam Scott at 25-1. I think that's definitely worth a play. I like Xander Schauffele as well. I didn't mention him on the show as a play, but I do think if you're not
Xander Schauffele, no, you did not.
Xander Schauffele. Sometimes I think if you're not going to play a guy on DraftKings as far as DFS is concerned, maybe you take a shot on him in the sportsbook. Yeah. Just if you got no ownership to one guy, we'll put him on the sportsbook side. See what happens.
Because you know what, ownership doesn't matter when you're betting on the sportsbook.
It doesn't. So at 28-1,
that's a pro tip.
There you go. So at 28-1, I like Xander Schauffele. Longer odds, I'm with you. By the way, Keegan Bradley was one of those guys I wrote down at 80-1. I love that. Phil Mickelson, I did mention on the show. I took a flyer on him as when it came to DFS plays, and I like him at 55-1. I'm okay with that. Keith Mitchell at 125-1. I think that's a good play. This is going to shock you. I think you're going to like this one. J.B. Holmes at 175-1. He's always the guy. Look, he's not in great recent form, but I just feel like that's J.B. Holmes. And what we've seen
J.B. Holmes.
With this tournament is some of the guys that coming into this tournament, they haven't been in the greatest recent form, but then all of a sudden they just hit it. And I think he could be a good sort of flyer play at 175-1. So there you go. Those are my DK plays for the sports.
Back by popular demand, it is our favorite Canadian. Yeah, he's above Mike Myers and Alanis Morissette on my list.
You're just trying too hard now, Emerson. It's just no.
Yeah, Emerson.
She's bringing me down. I've already earned your love.
This
I don't
is
need to
embarrassing.
I don't need to act all fake.
Oh my
I
God,
don't need to
Jeff,
act all fake.
that's so embarrassing. I'm sorry.
Anyway, Jeff, we have you here to take an early look at this week's Memorial Tournament. Oh, yes.
So it's another edition of For Better or Worse. Just tell us if you think these players should have better or worse odds at Jack's event.
Okay, Rory McIlroy is the favorite here. Really no surprise. Jeff, 800, plus 800 to win. You agree with those odds?
No, I think they should be better. I mean, look, whenever you get a player at single digits like this, you want someone coming in with dominant form, or you want dominant course history. And Rory just doesn't really have either this week. I mean, I know he definitely improved over the weekend at the PGA Championship, and he's got okay course history. He's never won here. He's got multiple top tens, but it's just not a Rory course that he's dominated at in the past. And that's generally when it's okay to take single digits. And with single digits, I'm saying like, plus 800 as opposed to in the thousands on a player like Rory McIlroy for an outright bet. And this is just not the spot for me. We've seen shorter hitters play well at this event. You have to be able to scramble and putt well on these faster bent grass greens. It's given Rory a little bit of trouble in the past. I just don't think these odds are good enough. I think he should be more of a co-favorite with another one of those elite players.
All right, well, Tiger Woods has the second best odds at plus 1,200. So should his odds be better or worse, or do you feel like they're right on?
No, this one I like better. I mean, this feels about right for Tiger. And I mentioned I think Rory should be co-favorite. I think he should probably be about a co-favorite with Tiger. I think plus 1,200 sounds about right for both these guys. And I know the sentiment on Tiger is down after the PGA, but I mean, look, he was a little bit sick. It's his first event after winning the Masters, and he's a pretty big whirlwind. But you look at Tiger Woods at the Memorial. He's won on this venue 5 times. This is a Tiger Woods course. I mean, this is just one he's just dominated at times in his career, and he played well here last year too. If he had just got the putter going, he very easily could have challenged for the title here last year. Coming in this year, I think he probably wants to make up for that missed cut. I don't hate this at all. Again, I'm not really targeting elite players in the odds, but I like this much better for Tiger than I do Rory's price.
Hey, after a nice start to the season, the defending champion here, that's Bryson DeChambeau, he has missed 3 straight cuts. It's his worst stretch in nearly 2 years, Jeff, so he's plus 3,500 to repeat. Would you say his odds should be better or actually worse than this?
I don't want to say that they should be worse, because with an elite player like Bryson DeChambeau, when they get this high in price, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, I know he's missed 3 cuts. I know he's struggling a bit, but with a player like Bryson, they can put it together so fast. And when they do, you get the top 5s. You get wins out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. So I really don't think this price isn't high enough. I mean, I think any higher, and I think people will just be hammering it because they realize you're getting a massive price with a very elite player. That being said, the way he's playing right now, mainly the way he's putting and just handling himself around the greens, it just doesn't feel like a win is coming. So maybe not the odds I want to take at this event, but I do think they're probably about correct. I don't think he can go much higher, even though he's missed a couple cuts.
Jeff, let's talk Phil Mickelson. So he's plus 3,500. Did you like that?
That's plus 5,500.
Oh, okay.
Man, you gotta fix your eyes.
I gotta get glasses.
Oh my gosh.
So, for better or worse, Jeff, I even tried to cheat and look at the bottom, and I still read 3,500. Jeff, it's 5,500.
It's okay. It's okay, Jazz. I know what it is. It's plus 5,500 on Phil. It's kind of a similar story with Bryson. I like this a little bit better for Phil, though, because, I mean, you're getting a bigger price on an elite player. And he hasn't been quite as bad as Bryson. And he's been making cuts. He struggled on the weekend at the PGA, but it's Bethpage. The long course with heavy. It's just not really a Phil course. The interesting thing about the Memorial, too, is Phil has come out and said he'd like to get a win here at Jack Nicholson's tournament before his career is over. So it is kind of like something to do on his sort of hit list before he goes up to, he retire, whatever he does after golf. I don't know what he's going to do CBD drops or something, but I think this price is okay. I mean, I think if you're looking for like a higher price player, I think Henrik Stenson a plus 5,000 around there. I think Phil Mickelson a plus 5,500. I think those are both interesting plays because you're getting elite players at higher odds than normal. And like I said with Bryson, these guys can pop off at a moment's notice once they put things together. And Phil's definitely capable here. So I think these are the right odds. They might even be a little bit too high.
Okay, hold on one second. Here.
Do you want me to Okay.
You want to, I know this is my read, but do you want to try it?
Yeah, let me try that. Jordan Spieth finished tied for 8th last weekend at the Charles Schwab Challenge. He's plus 2,000 this week. How much do you like these odds, Jeff?
Let's go.
Jessie just realized I was bald for the first time, too. Right?
Oh my God, Jeff!
This is not Reed.
I love your hair. Okay.
Look, I don't like these odds on Jordan Spieth at all. We talked about him earlier today, Jessie, and it's just everything he's doing right now is with the putter. And it's like a baseball player who's hit 10 home runs in a row. You know that's not sustainable. You know he's not going to hit home runs every game for the rest of the year. Jordan Spieth can't keep gaining 10 strokes with his putter against the field every tournament. That's going to regress. Plus 2,000. I mean, when you have players like Stenson, Adam Scott, Phil Mickelson at way bigger odds, betting Jordan Spieth this week just feels completely wrong. I don't like these odds at all.
All right, Jeffrey, enjoy your night. We're gonna
Okay, you guys enjoy yours too.
Oh, don't you worry,
We will.
We're gonna catch up with the Orioles pitcher John Means right after Pat Mayo hooks you up with his picks for the Memorial.
Big names in this field. We got Rory as the favorite, 9-1. Tiger, he's playing. He's won this event 5 times. He's 12-1. Rose has won before. He's 16-1. Spieth is 16. JT apparently is coming back. He is 18-1. Tricky Ricky lost to Duffner a few years ago. He's 20-1. Kuchar's won this event 20-1. Cantlay top 5 last year, 20-1. Finau's never missed a cut. He's 20-1. Jason Day, a local who never performs well at this event, 22. Hideki has won. He's 22. Xander is 25. And that is everyone below 30-1. I have not made a bet in this area, and I don't think I'm gonna.
I wish I did the research.
There are 3 guys here for me. I don't know if I'm going to bet
in this under. Well, Xander's number, when you compare it to what you bet him to win the PGA Championship,
yeah, I agree.
I think is a comp. And while the field is incredibly hard, it's not as hard. Like you can't make that case. It's not Beth Page.
I agree.
So I think that's something that I will be thinking about till the very end of releasing a card because I see a lot of great value.
And someone brought to my attention during the live chat last week that Xander typically has a really bad tournament coming off a major.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, I wish I did the research, but ask my high school teachers. That was never my forte.
I'm glad you don't hang on to your high school t-shirts.
When you're a big guy like me, some of them, and you've been consistently big, some of them can still hang around, bud.
Okay. I've had this hoodie for a while.
I got some old Charger shirts. I swear to you, I could pull it out. You could match it to the year that was the sideline gear. It'd be scary how old it is. Where were we going? I wish I did the research to confirm my Ricky Fowler after a bad week performances. I'm telling you, they are peak.
Peak what?
Peak really good. So I'm really curious. Statistically, was Ricky really bad last week? I know he missed the cut. He can't make them all.
He was. Let's see.
But from a statistical standpoint, I hope he was horrible. It would make me so inclined to get there.
Gained 0.3 strokes off the tee. He was bad. He was good around the green. Lost a stroke on approach, and he lost 2.5 putting. It was his putter that let him down. First time he had lost strokes putting since the Farmers in February.
And what did he do the week after that, buddy?
He gained 10 strokes putting. He pulled a Jordan Spieth.
And he won.
He was Jordan Spieth the next week.
Now, Mike, think about my stat as to Ricky playing very well after horrible. Might just be based on he never plays well at Torrey and always plays well at Phoenix.
Yeah.
But
his last missed cut before that is he missed the cut at the Players and came 14th at Colonial last year, where he gained 7 strokes putting.
I need someone to tell me.
He has not lost strokes putting in consecutive weeks since the Wells Fargo Players last year.
Can you go look at what he did the week before last year's Masters?
Last year's Masters, he was 43rd at Shell.
And his irons were bad?
His irons were bad, yeah. He hasn't lost.
And then he came second.
He hasn't lost consecutive weeks with strokes gained, yeah.
And he lost here in a playoff to Duffner.
Yes, he did. So the 3 that I was really considering, Tiger last year was, I believe, first or second tee to green. He lost 8 strokes putting. 8.
Yeah. And one thing we know about new Tiger is in the past it was true, but it seems like this current version, because he's going to play so limited, his tracks are going to be his tracks.
Yeah. So I'd be very scared of Tiger here all week. So he's 12-1. I probably won't bet that. Kuchar actually does.
I know.
At 20. And the other one's Rose and Thomas just... if Thomas is playing, I assume he's fine, and then it feels like you're getting a break on his number.
Okay, yeah.
But that just might be like how I build my DraftKings team this week. Check out my cheat sheet for that.
Xander doesn't tinkle anything?
Yeah, a little bit, but like I have the guy. I've already bet on the guys I want to bet on, and they're just not in this range.
Okay.
We've got a special guest joining us right now, Orioles pitcher John Means. John, thank you so much for joining the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you were called up in September last season, appearing in one game for the O's. Fast forward to this year, you make the team out of spring training. So we know that's the goal of everyone playing professional baseball, but what did you focus on during the offseason to help?
I went to a facility. I went to to get some pitching help. I never had pitching lessons before. I've always just kind of been a thrower. And I was like, well, I made it. Now I might as well invest in myself a little bit. So I went in the off season, went to this place, and came to spring training throwing a few miles an hour harder than I usually do, and ended up making a team.
It's amazing what kind of like coaching and training can do.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Good
But
idea.
what I want to know is, how did you hear the news that you made the roster at the end of spring training? Like, how did you get the big news?
Honestly, it was just Hyder, our skip, was coming around, just shaking everybody's hand and saying congratulations. And I was kind of like waiting there because there's always like the claims that go through, like the other roster moves going on, so we can claim somebody off waivers or whatever. So a lot can happen, in the last couple of days of camp. So I was just kind of waiting around and hopping on the plane. Still not sure that I'm going to make it all the way to New York, but ended up getting there.
Yeah, speaking of New York, you picked up your first major league win against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in a relief appearance. So describe to us that feeling when it finally sank in and you realized your accomplishment.
Yeah, it was awesome. I knew I was getting in that day. It had been, I think it was like 3 games in. We had used a bunch of relievers, but I was like, okay, I got to be ready for today. And, I had that starter mentality of I'm used to knowing when I'm going to pitch. So I kind of went in knowing that I was going to have 3 or 4 innings and ended up pitching well enough to get the win. It was weird though, because that was my first ever relief appearance, like in the middle of an inning. So I came in with the bases loaded and I think 1 out. And so I'd never done that before, especially in New York. So it was cool.
So you get back to the clubhouse and you look at your phone, and my guess is you just have a bajillion text messages waiting for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, family, friends, people I haven't talked to in years.
You started the year in the bullpen, but you were shifted to the rotation in April. So what's that transition to the rotation been like?
It's comfortable, because I've been here before. I've started pretty much every minor league game. So I was never in the bullpen, and I made the team in the bullpen, so that was a little different. But no, it's been nice. It's been an easy transition, especially with this team and the coaches we got.
Okay, I want you to look in the mirror here, and I don't really want you to give away any trade secrets.
Right.
I don't think the Orioles would want you to do that either, but what kind of scouting report would you give on yourself as a pitcher?
I think it's just a guy that can throw every pitch for a strike and can locate well, has the decent changeup that I just found this year, so that helps too. And yeah, just a guy that I work quick and I throw a lot of strikes, so sometimes that'll work out really well.
That was great. Solid.
I
yeah.
would sign that guy.
Yeah. So you're in the middle of a series with the Tigers, and you're going to take the mound in the finale tomorrow. So take us through your process for getting ready for a start.
There's a whole routine that goes up into it. You get 4 days off, so you're constantly doing something every day to keep your arm and body ready. You work out. I usually work out 2 times before I pitch and kind of do some mobility before that. The day before, though, I don't really do a whole lot. There's not a lot of superstition or anything that goes on before my starts, but I kind of get to the field a few hours before the game, start doing my routine, hop in the tubs, get my body ready, and then go out there and try to strike everybody out.
You do have a first-year manager in Brandon Hyde, so how would you describe his managing style?
He's definitely a player's coach. I mean, he's awesome. Every player loves him. They're very comfortable around him. They can talk to him about whatever they need, and he keeps the energy up. It doesn't matter if we lose a few straight. He's obviously, no one likes losing, and then that night in the clubhouse is tough. But the next day, it's a new day. It's a new game. He comes in with a lot of energy, kind of picks everybody up.
All right, now let's get to the important stuff. How often have you played fantasy sports, and what's your favorite fantasy sport to play?
I've only done fantasy football before in the past, so I mean that's a lot of fun. You get with buddies and you trash talk. You talk about the games. I'm a big Chiefs fan, so they had a good season last year. So I unfortunately did not get to pick up Mahomes though, but there are some lucky people that did.
Yes. One of them is standing here in this studio, not named Jessie. But,
okay,
yeah.
buddy.
Championship. How big of a deal, though, is fantasy football in the clubhouse?
We definitely talk about it a lot. There's actually some guys that get really into it, get like spreadsheets going and have their personal rankings. I've known plays with some players that really get into it. But no, it's a lot of fun. A lot of guys, a lot of baseball players love football.
So do you have like a memorable fantasy win or loss that's stuck with you for whatever reason?
Not really. I mean, I remember one game where I lost, I think it was like 130.4 to 130.3 before something ridiculous where I had like a career game, but the other guy also had a career game that I was playing, and yeah, it was tough. Now, I don't remember who it was exactly, but I've had a few tough ones.
Those ones hurt. They really do.
They do. Yeah. It's tough to forget those. Last question for you here. Again, we are DraftKings, so with you being a lefty, we're going to let you draft right now the 3 best left-handed starters in the game today. So who's on your list?
So I can't say myself, obviously, right?
Well,
you are more than welcome to.
Yeah.
I believe in you. You should believe in you.
If you don't think you're the best pitcher, you probably shouldn't be here. You should always go out there thinking you're the best.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. You're at the top of the list. You have 2 more spots to fill.
Well, you can't not say Kershaw. I mean, he's always been the best lefty. Him and probably, I don't know, I'm kind of stuck between, Bumgarner and Patrick Corbin are both pretty good. So.
Okay.
No Chris Sale on that list? I guess it makes sense because, little rival there in the AL East.
Yeah.
Don't want to give him too much love.
Exactly. It's a tough league. Tough love.
John Means, thank you so much for coming on our show. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. We have a big 13-game slate in the bigs on Tuesday night and a handful of star pitchers to choose from. Our friends over at DK Playbook break down some of the top arms going tonight and are laying out some of the best options. Detroit's Matt Boyd is sitting in the top spot of the rankings and is priced in at $10,300 as he's set to face the Orioles. Boyd is enjoying a strong season where he owns a 3.11 ERA over 11 starts and a 1.01 whip. He also boasts fantasy value while striking out 80 batters in just 67 innings pitched. Baltimore, meanwhile, is 8th worst in runs scored and aren't particularly strong against lefties as they own a 26.1 strikeout rate. At number 5 in the rankings is Marlins righty Trevor Richards at 8,200. While he's had an up and down season so far, he has a very intriguing matchup with the San Francisco Giants, who are one of the worst offenses in baseball, ranking 10th in strikeout rate. For the rest of these rankings and more on tonight's slate, head on over to DraftKings.com/playbook.
One more time with tonight's Baseball Bros, DK Live's Tim Finnegan and Mr. Ben Zwyman. Thanks for making us a priority, gentlemen. One more time.
So first pitch on this 12-game main slate is at 7:05. So please pay attention. Weather could screw some of these up as well. So
if you guys see anything, let us know.
Yeah, and the DK Live app is an absolute must right now for all those updates.
Very true. You get push alerts all day long. It's fantastic. We're in the bargain bin right now, talking cheap players who could deliver big this evening. So Ben, who's a cheap starting pitcher you're interested in? And explain to the people at home why.
I will explain why. Thank you, Emerson.
You're welcome.
So Marco Gonzalez at 6,900. Yeah, that's a pretty nice price. But yeah, the stats have been pretty good. He's faced the Rangers twice this season in those games. 0.64 ERA, 1.00 WHIP, 12 Ks in 14 innings pitched. Texas has a really good offense, but they're slightly worse on the road, which helps. They're in Seattle tonight. And the Rangers don't really hit lefties well. 217 batting average against lefties this season. This slate is very tough on pitching, so I think you're going to have to pay down in spots in that mid-range Gonzalez is actually pretty nice. So yeah, I'm looking at his floor as a pretty good spot here. And the M's are heavily favored. So if Gonzalez is going to pitch well, he's probably in line for the win. So that obviously plays a factor. So yeah, he's my guy I'm paying down for.
Okay, Tim, who are you paying down for a starting pitcher?
I'm looking at the game in Miami against the Giants and Marlins are playing each other. Jeff Samardzija is 7,700. Trevor Richards is 8,200. I know that's not that cheap, but at least they're affordable. And the Marlins and Giants are the two worst offenses in the league. The Marlins are last in the league in extra base hits. And Jeff Samardzija, so he has close to a 50% fly ball rate. And fly ball rate is basically the percentage of his batted balls that he allows that are in the air. And Marlins Park is a pretty big park, so it's like a good soft spot for him against a weak lineup, really weak lineup. So I like Samardzija at 7,700. Or you can go to Richards. He's a little bit more expensive, but he's got a nasty changeup. He has one of the best changeups in the game. And what that does is, so a changeup, it runs away from the bat path of a lefty. So Richards is better against lefties than he is against righties. And the first 3 out of the first hitters in the Giants order are lefties. So that's pretty good for him. He could get off to a good start. So I'm looking to that game right there in Miami.
And just a heads up, guys, Cardinal-Phillies game being delayed. So keep that in mind. Now, Tim, what about a catcher?
Okay, so Will Smith, he's 2,100. He just got called up from AAA where he had really good numbers. Now, the caveat there is in AAA, the ball is juiced. So he had really good numbers in AAA. He's one of the Dodgers' top prospects. I think he was like their fourth best prospect. He's projected to be like, around a league average hitter eventually if he reaches his ceiling. So he's hitting 8th against Steven Matz, who's a lefty. That's not a great lineup spot, but at 2,100, that's like a great pump play. And he has some pop, so he can put one in the seats too. So I like Will Smith on the Dodgers.
Ben, a catcher, please.
Yeah, I like Buster Posey tonight. I mean, he's a former MVP, 3,200. He's got a pretty good lineup slot for the Giants. I know Tim mentioned that he's not really liking the offense in that, but I think given Posey's ceiling for GPPs, it's not a bad play. And Trevor Richards has a penchant for giving up home runs. He's given up at least 2 home runs in 4 of his past 6 starts. So if Posey can get one out of the park, it might be tough again in Miami, but if he can do it, then he's going to return value on there. So I think low ownership GPP play isn't a bad idea for Posey.
Benny Z, how about an infielder under $4,000?
I'm gonna go very low.
Hey, Tim.
There we go. I'm gonna go very low. I'm gonna go Jack Mayfield for the Astros. At pretty much basement pricing at 2,000. He got called up, made his MLB debut over the weekend, had an RBI double. Good stats in AAA, 283 average, 938 OPS, and only 28 Ks and 152 at-bats this season in AAA. Jon Lester on the Cubs has been awful his last 2 starts, 9 earned runs, 17 hits, 3 home runs allowed over that stretch. There will be tougher bats in the Astros lineup, Brantley and Bregman, for Lester to deal with. I think Mayfield batting 6th is a pretty good spot. He'll be in an RBI spot. More of a GPP play, I think, for Mayfield, although people may be on him a little bit given the matchup. But yeah, he's a decent cash game guy too if you're looking to sort of fit in some high-priced pitchers or just stack all the high-priced bats.
Timmy.
So yeah, I like Jesus Aguilar at 2,900. Now, if you look at his outcomes against left-handed pitchers, he's facing a lefty tonight. His outcomes aren't good. He's only got a 252 weighted on base average. That's basically a poor number. But if you look at his contact quality, which is basically the exit velocity and angle that he's been hitting the balls at, his expected weighted on base average is 354, which is actually very good. So that's some evidence that he's probably a little bit unlucky this year against lefties. And he's facing a lefty who had just a 15% strikeout rate in AAA. That's really bad. The major league average is 23%, just for reference. So I really like Jesus Aguilar. He's hitting 6th. That's not a great lineup spot, but he should be in good position in this matchup.
All right, last one here. Who is your lock for tonight's slate? And now, does it have to be a cheap play? Your must start out of every dude on this slate. Ben, who's it going to be?
The MVP, NL MVP, Christian Yelich. Twins are sending out Devin Smeltzer. He's making his MLB debut. It should be a great spot for the Brewers. And, yeah, Christian Yelich, he's the guy you're paying up for tonight.
Tim, who's the guy you absolutely must have on your roster?
Boy, I guess Cody Bellinger. He's facing left-handed pitcher Steven Matz. Bellinger doesn't have as good numbers against lefties as he does against righties, but he's unconscious right now. You know, he just hit a home run off Jacob deGrom last night. I'm going with Bellinger. The guy's just on another planet right now.
Fantastic.
Good stuff, guys.
You
We
guys
appreciate the time as
for all
always.
your advice and help.
We'll be back tomorrow at 6.
at 6.
Stop.
Stop.